whatever. Um, I've been feeling real Turtle Island-ish lately, and I don't know if it's because I'm back in here with all these, artifacts and things that I've created. I don't know if it's my altar, my some of my pieces. Look, Mata, there go what you painted for me. Like some of my pieces, because all of my art. It speaks to. I've been feeling real Turtle Island ish lately. So today I was scrolling down the comment section of a comment that Fantasia had made about how the woman can't be the head. The man can't operate without the neck, and the woman is the neck, but she can't be the head. I went to looking in the comment section because, of course, I automatically had my own ideas. And so I went to reading the comment section, and it just showed me like the comments going backwards and forwards between black indigenous men and black indigenous women. It spoke to me loudly about this battle that I feel has been going on longer than sexism. I mean, longer than racism. And I feel like we living in a time where everybody to some degree is waking up, like waking up to who they are, like really, 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 really just like feeling a sense of these things that you didn't sense before, like just being more aware. Even the most carnal natured amongst us, are still having like these profound moments of clarity. And I've experienced it being around all manner of humans on this planet. We all, like, I don't know if it's what's going on in the stars, because as they say, as above so below. And I think as more of the stars, as more of the heavens come into alignment, as more of the heavens begin to agree and connect with one another, and we become more obvious of these connections, we're becoming more connected with each other, and that connecting is helping us to have this season of a greater awareness. Amen, amen. And I think that there was a feud, in the heavens. Um, and I think that that feud that happened, I think the secret is that that feud in heaven, when Satan was cast out of heaven, I don't I think this is a different, I think there's some truth in that story, but I don't think that we're getting the story right. I think, I'm not gonna lie, I don't read as much as I used to read. I get my thoughts more through meditation. I hear things, when I'm sitting in private and just being with myself, I hear messages. And I think some of it is things that I've taken on, in my journey of experiences, of reading, of writing, of meditating, of listening and receiving. I think these are a culmination of ideas that resonate with me through my experience. So I think that's where this knowledge or these thoughts, come from, that help me to really ground myself and understand what my purpose is and understand what my purpose is, to be on the planet. But I think now, like I said, with all the alignment happening, I think the as above, so below, as within, so without. I think all of that is connecting, and when we're in tune with that, we start to feel we start to feel that connection to the deep. You feel me? Like to that origin space, to that place where all comes from. you know, to that place we return and we become nothing, but we're still a part of everything, because in your own life, in your own little microcosm, you could be the big thing. But when you get ready to go back to that all, you become nothing, but you still a part of all. Man, that was. Did you hear that? Like in your own personal life, you could be the big thing. You could be the feature. You could be the center stage. You could be the star of the show. It could be all about you. But when you go back to the all, you become nothing, but you still a part of the all. Wow. Did you understand that? Do you understand that? Like literally, to become a part of everything, you got to be happy with being seen as nothing. Mm. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about what you're willing to serve. You know, what what world do you want to see for yourself? What world do you want to envision for yourself? And I think that we lived in a world where beings who were born with wombs, beings who were born with breast, I mean, breasts that hung, and they were born with, vaginas. Um, I think that we've lived in a world before where those beings were able to lead without necessarily needing the protection of men. I definitely believe, I don't even want to use the word believe because they'll go back and say, oh, they use the word believe and lie is in the word believe. So I definitely feel and can see and can visualize a place in time where the XX chromosome was was more of a physical force. I think through socialization, um, through because I definitely could see a time where beings that were born with penises and just penises, like they weren't, intersex, they were just born with penises. Um, Not gonna say all beings that are born with penises are simple, but a lot of them are. There's a lot of they seem more simpler. Like um, they say that XX is more emotional, and I want to say that XX is more of a thinker. XX, the reason why they are emotional is because they are so sentient, and sentient is a new word I learned from listening in a couple of spaces, but it just means that you're conscious, you're aware, you can think about what it is that you're doing. And so I think that beings that are born with wombs, beings that are born with vaginas, they're they're often, I'm not going to say this is a absolute and that this is always true, but I think that beings that are born with vaginas tend to be more sentient. They tend to contemplate more. They tend to um, be more aware of what's going on. Now, I don't think that this holds true across the board because there's definitely some beings that are born with vaginas that are simple, and that speaks to the fact that energy does not always align with anatomy. So that's another conversation. Again, energy does not always align with anatomy, but in principle, in idea, as a whole, we have to ask ourselves this question: why in China was every time a female being came to the planet, they were mostly aborting them? There was a time in China where they were aborting 60 million girls. If you were, well, I want to say girls because that's pre-labeling, but they were aborting 60 million XX babies a year like a year. Why were y'all aborting 60 million female fetuses? And the reason why you want to abort that energy is because it is a more sentient energy. And if you're trying to create a society that you can enslave, you want a whole bunch of thinkers running around? You want a whole bunch of energy that thinks? No. Like, if your goal is to enslave, then you want energy and you want the type of beings that you could give orders to. You make them comfortable, you create a reality for them that's super comfortable, giving them power, giving them. See, a lot of XY individuals are the original pick me's. They was pick me's before the Caucasian became pick me. They was pick me before we had pick me amongst, the black indigenous species. The XY chromosome is the original pick me. See, XX has always, in principle, been more sentient, been more of a thinker. But, XY wanting to prove that XY is worthy to sit with XX became the original pick me. And the reason why is because XY, in principle, not across the board, because not all XYs are like this, but XY tend to be very visual. You could sell XY a dream just by showing XY a pretty picture. XY willing to risk it all. XY will go off to war. XY will fight. XY will die for a pretty picture. XX need a little bit more than a pretty picture. This is why, in principle, women don't need a man who's young and attractive. They just need him to have stability. They just need him to have some goals, some ambition. They don't really care. Like, it's cute for him to be cute, but this is not a deal breaker. We can work around this. But can you offer? Do you have a vision? Do you have some goals? Some stuff you standing on? Something you want out of life? Or we just finna be playing around? What we doing? So XX is very much the bigger picture. Where are we going with this? XY just needs a pretty picture. That's why XY goes off and get trophy wives and want a trophy life, and in principle. So, understanding that, we know that the more sentient of the two, in principle, is XX. This is why, and see, everything emerges from the deep. And I'm finna be talking about this in my next production that I'm doing. Remember when we watched Soul Food, and remember when the grandma said, when the new babies was coming into the world, the grandmother said, I dreamed of fish last night. You remember that? She said, I dreamed of, and that's an old wives' tale. That's an old tale amongst black people, black indigenous people. We say when a baby is coming, we say, I dreamed of fish. You hear this all the time. When life is coming or life is going, we always get these fish dreams. Now look, coming over into the trans community and the queer community, what do we want to be? What do a lot of trans feminine beings aspire to be? We want to be fish. So our Our elders were dreaming of fish. Our ancestors were dreaming of fish. And in our community, our vernacular is we want to be the fish. We want to serve the fish. We want to experience being fish. And so there's this intersectionality that has to do with the deep. There's this ongoing conversation that connects us with the deep. Oh my goodness. And we know that in that deep, sex organs don't matter. They got male seahorses that can have the babies, that could carry the babies, that could be pregnant and have the babies. There's fish in the water. What was the Finding Nemo fish? They could literally change sexes if they need to. Like sex is is really more ambiguous and abstract when we start to go into the deep. And so us as Black indigenous people, we have a connection with that deep. And I think there's been some sort of disagreement that went on in the deep. Because I think that the deep is the real heaven. And I think that's where the real battle happened. And who was God really? Was God goddess? Goddess God? And cast Satan, Man, Satan. Hmm. Was this because they say that um Lucifer was the light bearer, but Lucifer was also beautiful to behold. And so this was this visual phase. And this the most beautiful male being, well, mostly male being, was cast out of heaven. And so who would do a thing like that? Like, would, if God was more of a masculine being, if the creator was more centered in his masculinity, do you think it would kick out the most beautiful thing down there? Like, this is not sounding like patriarchy, because patriarchy likes to keep visually stunning things around. So it doesn't sound like the deep is a patriarch. It doesn't sound like the underwater world is a kingdom. It's not giving kingdom. It's not giving patriarchy down there in the real heaven. Hmm. I think that's where the war happened. I don't think it was in the sky like we think, because I think the sky is reflecting what's going on down there. Remember, up is down and down is up. And so when this battle happened, my God is God today, and that entity was cast out of the deep. So it moved upon, moved over the deep, hovered over the deep, and took what it could take up out of it. But you're not gonna take all of it, because that's where everything come from. A man and woman. So you took what you could. You pulled a few things out of it because you are divine. You are a part of the divine. You pulled you some stuff up out of it, and they even say that in the word. They say some of the angels left with him, and so these angels became fixtures in this reality. And when we study the even in the Greek and Roman stories about how the Titans became fixtures in the world, how when The titans, their bones and their bodies were used. Like, so even in Greek and Roman stories, these angels very well, some of these entities probably came to earth and came into the world that he was creating when he was cast out of the deep after the war. Oh my goodness. Mm. Oh wow, it's really some stuff to think about. So I'm thinking that this is the original battle, like between masculine and feminine, between male, not necessarily male and female, but between these principles. And not giving XX all the credit, like they didn't give what they gave, because I could very well see XX feeling as though you my worker bee. I'm not gonna never see it for you as being more than what you are. You are not me exactly, because even though XX is sentient, there are parts of XX um in the origin story that probably saw XY as, I want to protect it, I want to keep it safe, which is where the mama's boy principle comes from. Those mothers who coddle their sons, their male sons, and see them as, the greatest hope and the greatest dream, and just so in love with their sons. So there was that fraction, there was that principle that we've seen evolve over time, as an archetype. But then there was the archetype of, you know, um, those beings who were born XX that looked at XY and was like, "You'll never be me. You could never do what I do. You could never." Like, there's different variables of it, and I think both of those mindsets have to find a neutral ground, because the neutral ground is an XX being that knows that they are worthy and knows that they are exceptional and knows that they are powerful, but at the same time loves XY as it loves itself, and doesn't, and wants to um honor it and protect it in the same way that it honors and protects itself, versus always seeing it as a worker bee or a workhorse. This part of itself that is inadequate because it is incapable of carrying and bringing life here. So there's some mindsets that has to heal, and there's this mindset that has to heal in XY of feeling that it's inadequate because it cannot carry life. Because there are a lot of XY individuals who are in power, who are secretly just, like, I think there are male bodied beings who have no desire to be a woman, don't want to live their life as a woman, don't want to look like a woman, don't want to do anything that a woman does, but still want to carry a baby, still feel jilted because they can't push a baby out their body. Because you got to be strong to open up a portal in between to open up a portal and push a whole human being out of your body. That's powerful. And it's not even about sex, it's just a powerful act. The most he have to do is plant his seed. This being literally has to expand a space on their body, if you're doing it, you know, in the way that the body was typically designed to do it, and you're not having the cesarean, the body has to literally contort to push another vessel out onto this plane. And there are men who have no desire to be women, but still, well, I mean, we see this in the transmasculine community. They don't want to be identified as women, they don't want to be seen as women, but they still want the experience of bringing a life here. That is still a moment in which they feel empowered by. And then to do that as a man, to do that experiencing yourself as a man, to be called a man, to be seen as a man, to be respected as a man, and to be a man who has given birth. That is still an honor because there are, beings who are around who be bragging, talking about, oh, I tore it up. I was putting that meat up in there. I was banging it out. Well, you can't do what I could do. You ain't got what I got. You can't hit it. You can't hit them spots I can hit. But literally, what I can do is push another human being out of my body. So while you over here tearing up corners and hitting it right, I'm literally over here pushing human beings out of my body. Literally over here being a portal for human activity. A Stargate, if you will. So there's definitely a battle going on there. There's definitely a battle going on over there. And I think that's the first battle. And I don't think that until we come together on all of this, you know, and that's what Lay Lim Lay Lur is about. Lay Lim Lay Lur is definitely about these type of conversations, like this type of dialogue, this type of communication, this level of communication. You know, I think the man and woman titles are cute, but I think that we need to start having um we need to start communicating in a way that really brings us back to the essence of the energies, the identities, like in order to get back to where we used to be, because I'm sure, well, it's going to happen regardless, as we continue to align ourselves. And it's going to be like it was, but it's also going to have another layer to it because we continue to experience and learn, and as we've continued to split off into so many different variables. I don't know if the splitting of the variables, the jury is still out on whether the splitting of the variables is helping us to um like if it's increasing awareness. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the splitting of the variables creates all of these different experiences and opportunities. And like right now, while we connected and communicating, we're getting that consciousness. But I'm still like, I don't know. Like, could we be more consolidated as a species? Could we be more um, together and still have this awareness and have this knowledge? I don't know. What y'all think? Because just what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that if we was all to kind of like, say for example, okay, it's 8 billion variables on the planet, and we were to, because energy doesn't die, it's merely transferred and transformed. Okay, and a lot of the energy through physical transition of the body was to become more consolidated, and that energy was to return to the deep, and those of us that were moving on the physical plane had access to the deep. Um, how do you feel like? Do you feel like that would be a plus or a minus? Like, do you feel like more people, more opportunities, more awareness, more capacity? Or do you feel like we would be able to access more energy, more awareness, and more supernatural abilities if more of the energy that was on the physical plane was shifted to the spiritual plane? Now I know it sounds like genocide. Because if you ask me, that's probably what they're doing over there. But is it genocide if it's a choice? Like, I think it's genocide when it's not a choice. That's just my opinion. Anyway, yeah, like people deciding that they would rather exist on a different plane and making the necessary precautions or taking the necessary steps to actualize that. Um, of course, there'll be some who will say, "Oh, they was manipulated. Oh, they was brainwashed," because they think that this reality is the best thing since cheddar cheese. Um, but is genocide genocide if it's choice? Like, I think genocide is genocide when it's not a choice. But if a million people decided that they was like tired of navigating this plane, if a million people decided it simultaneously and it was like, you know what, I'm about to chunk up the deuces. We about to get off this plane. Like, is that genocide? You know, I don't think that's genocide. And I like I said, I don't think that energy is I don't think that energy dies. I think that energy shifts. I think that it goes into other places. And I think that if people are intentional about it, I don't, we want different things out of life. Some of us want a beautiful life in this life, and some of us see ourselves as, different versions of ourselves continuing to live on this thread, on this cosmic thread. And so some of us live our lives in a way in which we're always preparing for our next incarnation. So we're preparing for the next incarnation. And I think there's a huge portion of society that could resonate with that logic. Like, I'm like, it's like when people, who live their whole life because they want to die and go to heaven. Okay, well, there are also people who live their whole life because they want to die and they want to experience another reality. They feel like, okay, this part of the journey is to help me prepare for my next part of the journey. How I want to expand in consciousness, how I want to become a more sentient being so that I can have the opportunities to hold a different position in consciousness, in the grand design, in the grand scheme of things, in this cosmic picture. And so there are some of us who never see ourselves beyond this existence, and we just want to die and go somewhere and rest because we've worked so hard our lives. Works. And that's great too. I'm not putting that down, even though that did sound a little sarcastic. But that's not for everybody. That's not everybody's journey. And when we understand we all have our places and positions, we'll stop, feeling like we gotta label everything for everybody. Gotta tell other people what their existence and what their journey is about and try to make them crazy because you can't understand them. Why? Why you gotta make somebody crazy because you don't understand them? Why they can't just be them and you be you? Why everything not meant to make sense to you? So you ain't gotta make somebody else crazy to make yourself look sensible. Because in the end, you look crazy because you trying to label me instead of working on you. And that's one of the things that I don't like about this reality. I don't have to make another person crazy or make another person mentally ill or make another person mentally disturbed to bring validity to who I say I am. We all have purpose and we can learn from each and every example. We may not want to experience it. We may not want the information. We may not want the knowledge. And that's why you move along. But everybody has a a pulpit, and a platform that has the capacity to reach people that you may never touch. And that's the truth. So I don't have to um, downplay your intelligence or your experience or your gifts or your knowledge or your wisdom to make mine valid. If what you saying isn't working for me, isn't feeding me, it isn't fueling me, then I can still tell you thank you for that. But look, look at I look at this experience like a buffet. And I used to say the same thing when I was pre-op. You know, it's all you could eat. And whatever you don't like, just pass over. It's a lot of different things you can come eat. You can eat over here, you can eat 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 here. All of this food is available. But if you don't like it, pass over. Let somebody else eat that. Stop trying to eat stuff you don't like. If you really legit don't like it, I mean, I think some things, I will keep trying if it's gonna be healthier for you. And this is in the physical and the spiritual. You know, some people struggle with learning. That don't mean that you should never try to learn. Some people don't like reading. That don't mean that you should never pick up a book. But do it at a pace that works for you because you don't want to burn yourself out doing something that you're not sincerely invested in. So give yourself grace, give yourself time. You know what I'm saying? But don't force feed yourself. A man, a woman. Don't force feed yourself. Give yourself grace, give yourself time, do a little bit at a time. I tell, people that I mentor this all the time. Give yourself time, give yourself grace. Don't pressure yourself to try to consume some stuff that you ain't ready for because then that's when you get resentment. That's when you be walking around here bitter. That's when you be walking around here mad because you done forced yourself to consume something you wasn't ready to eat. You done forced yourself. If it's not resonating with you right now, if you're not feeling, if you're not connecting with it right now, put that down. Let somebody else eat that who gonna enjoy that. Let somebody else eat that who ready to eat that. Let somebody else enjoy that meal. But stop force feeding yourself. This is physically and spiritually. This is true. Don't force yourself to eat something you're not ready to eat. Give yourself grace. And if it's meant for you to get there, you'll get there. This is what I've learned in my diet and in my spirit. I don't try to force myself to eat shit that I'm not ready to eat. Because at the end of the day, what you eat ain't going to make me go to the bathroom. That's how we know that we don't all have to agree on everything at the same time. Because if we literally were supposed to agree on everything at the same time, you would be able to go and eat a plate of food and I get full. You will be able to go into whatever restaurant, eat with me. I'm sitting right on side of you. You ate, you full. Now I'm full too, and I ain't ate nothing. If that was the way, if we all was supposed to agree on everything, and we all was just supposed to be, fed off of what another person got out of life. No, I have to sit down and eat for myself. I have to consume for myself. And why I'm gonna eat if I'm not hungry? Why I'm gonna keep eating if I'm already full? But in order to be hungry for other stuff, you have to start pushing away from things that no longer serve you. And this is in the physical and the spirit. In order to hunger for other things, you have to say, mm, I don't got no room for that right now. I done ate enough of that. So that you could start to have an appetite for other things. Amen, a woman. So that's just something to think about. The spirit and the physical, they connected together. And I'm telling you, it's a struggle for me all the time too. I gotta get off of this live meal and clean up and be active today. Cause I have been eating extra. Like I haven't gained any weight, but I haven't lost any. And I'm not happy with that. I'm not beating myself up about it because I haven't gained any weight. But I am not happy with myself because I have not lost more weight and I want to lose 25 more pounds. And so, it's a balance. I'm not beating myself up because I haven't gained no weight, but I'm not happy with myself because I haven't lost any more weight. So I'm kind of like, I'm like that. So, what I'm finna do for the next 2 months is I'm really finna slack back on social media because I be so in the social media that um, I'm not meditating and exercising. I'm on my phone. We just gonna go ahead and keep it real. I'm either watching some content or making some content or sharing some old content. And between watching content, sharing content, and making new content, I'm not taking the time to do what I need to do to actually be content with myself. I'm watching old content, making content, watching other people content, and ain't really content with myself. Oh my. Bitch, I'm watching your content, watching his content, making new content, and ain't really content with myself. So, I'm finna take a break from content. So I could be more content with myself. Amen, a woman. Anyway, I wish I knew where the lighter at so I could light a candle. But let's light a candle in our hearts. Yeah. It's one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. I have goals for myself in the new year. I want to express and show more discipline so that I can um, feel confident and feel ready to handle more in my life. Amen, a woman. And so I know the change starts with me. I know it starts with me. Amen, a woman. So anyway, I love you all. Thank you all for watching. This video was really just about processing. We're definitely going to continue to explore this conversation. I like the way that it came out. People will come on this live and be ready to be beefing in the comment section. Like from what I saw in the comment section of the video where Fantasia made the comments that she made about, like the woman can't leave the house and like it really had me upset with her, to hear her talk like that. But she's invested, in this matrix, and she's invested in this nation. She's invested in this reality, and it's prospering her. She's benefiting from her viewpoint and from, how she sees the world. It's benefiting her. We know her origin story, and we see how things have turned out for her. And so I get it. I'm kind of mad at myself for getting it. Which I did get it. Let me stop. No, I don't. I don't. If she's happy, then I'm happy for her. But the narrative just bothers me because we're not having a conversation about why this is a reality. It's just that it's like what she was saying in the video. She didn't even have a justification for what she was saying. She just said the woman can't lead, the woman can't be the head. There's no explanation for why. But I'm the neck. He can't make no moves without me. Like, there's not really any justification for why you think like that. And I also think that thought process, why, like, if you don't know why he should be the leader, why did how does he know? Like it gives men an excuse not to be thinkers. It's just this Bible tells me so mentality. For the Bible tells me so. It's very, for the Bible tells me so. Like, okay, that's it. He's a man because he's supposed to be the man. Whatever, like I'm not about to do it. I'm not, just because, like, because of what? Like, is he the man because he have a penis? Is that it? That's the qualifications? Ooh wee. I said earlier, energy does not always align with anatomy. So what are we basing this off of? Are we basing this off of how he sees himself and how you see yourself? Is that what we basing it off of? How are we basing it off of your sex organs? Are we basing it off of how you see yourselves? Or is it a combination of the two? Like, there needs to be some dialogue and some communication around that, not just I can't be the woman. I have to let him lead. Like, okay, prove let me know that you're a sentient being, and there is some conversation or there's some dialogue around why this is in your mind, because we are not all created with the same capacities based on our genitals. Now, yes, in the reality that we are in now, through breeding, um through what they call that, eugenics. The same way animals and chihuahuas are bred to be a certain way and to look a certain way, I think that this has happened with the XX species. I think that there was some selective breeding that repeatedly happened that caused XX to 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 look more feminine. I think that there's some selective breeding that has happened. I think that there was a time when, only pretty males, pretty soft, when I got to do that, very feminine looking, because we don't know what femininity really look like, but very feminine looking beings were with other feminine looking beings, and they just kept doing this to create this genre of extremely feminine looking beings, if I'm making any sense. And so, yeah, I think that there's been some eugenics done around that, you know, to create this because I think that the first XX honey child, I don't think we ever really seen it. We don't really know what it looked like. Cause baby, it might have been curvy, but it could be. It's if we done seen curve and muscles together, so we know they exist. Uh, we don't know what that entity looked like. Hmm. Anyway, let me go ahead and get off this live. Down but now that I say cool, keep spinning and turning. Iangani, Iyanko, Kalukalo, which means I am a child of God Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. Have a beautiful day. And let me cut some music on and clean up the energy in this room, honey. Because I'm feeling just, and I need to be, love y'all. Be well. Have a great day.